Hello everyone, and welcome to the collaboration track of Google for Work's Atmosphere Digital event. I'm Tony Fagan, I lead Google's research team, and I'll be spending the next 45 minutes with you. Throughout our session, feel free to ask questions at the Q&A tool at the bottom of the screen. We'll have Google's answering live. It wasn't so long ago that collaboration at work was basically meeting face-to-face and conference calls. Today, people are working in the cloud, they're editing documents, slides, spreadsheets at the same time and in real time. They're working from any device, laptops, desktops, phones, and from many different locations and times of day. They're getting more done faster and under more flexible work conditions. This isn't a trend, it's not the future, it's the way to do work today. So how can you do the same thing? How can you create highly productive teams? In our view, it comes down to three things. The first is elastic and flexible teams. The second is technical savvy. The third is employees who are engaged and motivated. In a moment, I'll welcome three guests whose companies have all embraced these ideas. Deborah from PwC, Jennifer and Stanka from Pierre Hermé Prairie, and Cheryl from Waitrose. But first, I want to show you how true real collaboration works and how it can help your team be more effective. We'll track two teams in two different locations working together in a collaborative way. To lead this workshop, I want to welcome Brice from our Paris office. Brice is the founder and CEO of Act One, an innovation management agency. He'll moderate an interactive experience during the next 45 minutes that we will watch unfold. Without further delay, let's see what's going on there.
Thank you, Tony. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our interactive experience. I'm thrilled to moderate this workshop. We will focus today on one of the most strategic issues of modern times, even though it's actually been around for centuries, the coffee breaks. Yes, our challenge today is how can we use coffee breaks to make people meet in a fun and interesting way. This session will be divided in three parts. In the first part, we'll brainstorm to generate initial ideas, then we'll pick one star idea and improve it, and eventually write an action plan to go from dream to reality. We have assembled two dedicated teams to build up and develop from two separate locations. This completely illustrates the concept of elastic teams you just mentioned. And even though we're based in two different locations, we're going to collaborate through a Hangout video conference to create innovative concepts. The tools are not in our way. They are a very important element of success as they enable us to inspire each other in real time with our contributions, both spoken and in writing. A good example is how we introduced ourselves to one another, using a common slide on which we all shared our own perspective on what is, isn't, and will become a coffee break. Throughout this workshop, we'll be using Google Apps to note, to share ideas, and to collaborate in real time on the same documents to deliver an action plan by the end of this session. We will now start the first part and get back to you later to show our first results.
Thanks, Brice. We're looking forward to seeing progress throughout the session. With that, I want to turn to our first guest, someone who knows quite a bit about what teams need to succeed. Deborah leads the Entertainment, Media, and Communications practice in the US for PwC, one of the world's largest consulting firms. Deborah is in the midst of rolling out Google Apps to 45,000 employees in the US. So we wanted to get her thoughts on collaboration, innovation, and the changing nature of work. Let's hear from Deborah.
The PwC and Google journey, it's a great story. It's a story about reinventing work. Imagine a company that's been around since the mid-1800s, effectively marrying a company that was born digital less than 20 years ago. Together, we're making it work. I have the pleasure of launching numerous primary research studies every year. In fact, we have a study that's just out of the field, evaluating thousands of consumer responses to the question, what are the most important attributes of organizations in terms of both employee experiences and customer experiences? What do the consumers say? They said, innovation and collaboration are the baseline. It's what's expected. They told us this isn't even considered a differentiator today. What is a differentiator? your vision and what you accomplish as a result of the innovation and the collaboration. That's what really differentiates you. We will all have to embrace collaboration, no choice, both inside and outside of our organizations. And interestingly, CEOs around the world are saying the exact same thing as the consumers. PwC is the knowledge provider, fun fact, for the annual World Economic Forum held in Davos every year. This year, 68% of those CEOs surveyed, what'd they say? Collaboration is one of the top 3 ways to create value in an organization. We all talk about collaboration. In fact, I just did, and say that it's table stakes. But that doesn't mean it's easy or that the path is obvious. You have to really rethink both your technology and your culture. You have to literally mobilize your workforce to compete in new ways. You have to give your people the right tools to drive this new behavior around collaboration. What I found, already having launched these tools to over half of our workforce in the US, and by the way, that's 20,000 people, is that our employees are leveraging these tools and collaborating. They are more engaged, more productive, and finding it easier to be mobile. As a result, we're adding more value for our clients and getting it done a lot more quickly. Of course, I get asked, why Google? For PwC, it was the right time in our transformation journey to team up with Google. In fact, surprisingly, we discovered that our 2 companies are more similar than we thought. With an average age at PwC of only 27, PwC needed to provide a way for our people to work the same way that they live, which means access to the best tools anywhere, anytime. We knew that in order to be successful and to position PwC for aggressive future growth, we needed to align this growth strategy with a technology strategy for 2016 and beyond. Most teams at PwC hold periodic status calls. I'm on at least 20 of these regularly scheduled calls for one reason or another every week. One of the biggest challenges for teams is that people often come unprepared to these calls, given their schedules, and thinking, we'll handle it all on the call. They haven't necessarily thought through and planned for necessary discussion points. Instead, like many of you, they probably read back from a list of completed and current activities. This means there's usually follow-up afterwards, or we spend time on the call asking and answering questions. All this takes time. And something inevitably slips on the agenda and doesn't get resolved until the next call. By using Google Forms and Sheets, our entire Google Change Management team collaborates on a meeting agenda that often resolves most of the open points and updates the team before we even have the call. The calls have become so much more valuable and efficient. In fact, we rarely use the full hour.
What are some of the big benefits you've seen from this program?
I just gave you an interesting example, but the real power of collaboration comes into perspective when you consider the implications for the largest teams. For example, in one of our workshops, we recently invited some members from an account team that works with a large financial services firm. This team has over 500 members around the world, and they onboard 20 to 30 new team members every month in the US alone. This team and many others like it have team members whose whole job is onboarding new team members. Google Tools makes it easier to bring these new people on board and point them quickly to the key shared folders and documents they'll need so that they can understand and prioritize their activities as new members on the team, including logistics and other success factors. Onboarding meetings and discussions are now short because new team members are already up to date. Instead of those hours in onboarding, team members now can spend most of their time creating value for our clients. One of the things that I have enjoyed most about the last year are our innovation workshops. With over 45,000 people in our US firm and hundreds of diverse capabilities across tax, audit, management consulting, we knew we had to identify some really unique ways to encourage adoption of the Google tools. We're looking at the better, faster, cheaper promise of collaboration technologies through this lens, this multiplier effect. So how can we influence people? How are we going to entice them How do we equip them to accelerate up this learning curve? Our premise is that you learn faster through solving problems. That's what we do for a living. So we developed workshops. We placed Google Apps for Work in the hands and imaginations of diverse teams, and then gave them very specific problem-solving challenges. These workshops really have 3 objectives. Teams learn how to use the tools and come up with ideas on how to save time and find better solutions for current processes. 2, in the process, they become super users that can be tapped for their creativity to develop more solutions. And 3, they usually become evangelists for adoption. They start to influence and encourage others to collaborate and innovate with the tools.
Okay, and what recommendations do you have for helping companies address this challenge?
Let me break it down into 3 things that I think are really critical in moving towards a collaboration environment. As great as collaboration is, collaboration requires cultural and behavioral change. And this is not an easy transition. Everybody needs to buy into the change, and it does not happen overnight. Everyone needs to be supportive of the process, and that means all parties get involved in the work. There's a flattening of the structure, which means leaders are collaborating far more often in content development rather than just the review and approval of the work. The momentum has to flow from a top-down leadership and a bottom-up, staff-driven enthusiasm for a better collaboration experience. And the second thing I would say is you have to get into the tools. You've got to devise a way to get hands-on experience in using the Google Apps for Work. Then start using them with others to solve problems. Our approach was the workshops that I told you about earlier. But whatever you do, it's a good idea to start small, work with small teams, and begin with small projects. The third point I would make is I also think it's best practice to build a reverse mentoring program. And what I mean by that is create a number of strategies for using more junior staff to help educate more senior staff, whether it's through one-on-one, in-person tutoring sessions, virtual presentations, use case documents, or even just ad hoc conversations in the virtual hallways. For example, I join Hangouts about once a week with one of my team members to get what we call white glove training on all the many nuances that have come up the previous week, because I just know there's a better way for just about everything I do with my own work. We all talk a lot about collaboration, but it's not easy to do. It means every one of us has to change. We all have to get our hands dirty. You have to change and capture the hearts and minds in order to reinvent work. And it's more than just investing in the right tools. To truly capture the benefits of collaboration, you need to rethink your technology and your culture. To transform the way we work, companies have to be reinvented digital. That's why we, PwC, ended up with Google.
Thank you, Deborah, for sharing your experience with Google Apps. Hopefully, these examples resonated with many of you, whatever the size of your company. I think you got a hint that technology is pretty key in helping these teams work better together. And for our viewers, feel free to use the Q&A tool at the bottom of the screen where Googlers will answer your questions live. Now that we've heard from Deborah, let's see how our interactive experience is going.
Thank you, Tony. It's great to see how people contribute in real time. We can see right now on the screen 8 different people from 2 different locations sharing ideas on Google Slides. The brainstorming phase went very well and was highly productive. So once we had a first set of different and interesting ideas, our immediate need was to select one of them. Now this is a tricky part, because it's easier to generate ideas in a large group than to sort and rank them. Another issue is that we don't want to discriminate in favor of one of the participants' proposition versus everyone else. So we created a Google form which enabled us to organize a vote in less than 1 minute. It was very efficient and a nice way to select our star idea, as you can see. Now the chosen idea is the coffee road trip. This initial proposition is disruptive in 2 different ways. First, it introduces the notion of mobility in coffee break, which becomes a traveling show. And it has another interesting twist, which is the bold proposition to make it last a full week. It's a rough cut concept, very innovative and very bold, and it is now going to evolve tremendously as we move on to the second stage and improve it. We will be back soon to update you on the next part of our experience. To you, Tony.
Thanks, Brice. Before introducing our next speaker, I wanted to share some learnings from research we've done at Google. We wanted to better understand how Google Apps enables collaboration over time and location. So we looked at our own company. With over 55,000 employees and 100 offices, we have a lot of data. So we analyzed this data over a 2-year period, and here's what we found. We found that Googlers as a whole are collaborating more, and that new employees are becoming more collaborative sooner after they join the company. That's why increasing collaboration over time matters. So here's 3 quick data points. The first, the percentage of new employees who collaborated monthly increased over this 2-year period from 70% to 90%. You can get a flavor of the day in the life of a Google Doc in this animation. The second point is that the percentage of 2 or more people collaborating doubled. It went from 35% to 70%. Collaboration between organizations across regions also increased over time. And perhaps most importantly, the whole culture of collaboration became more open, with people sharing documents with all employees than just a few of their peers. International collaboration is something that's baked into the process at Pierre Hermé Paris, a worldwide patisserie. The company's people-first approach to employee engagement is the cornerstone of its success. We have the pleasure to welcome Jennifer, who's co-founder of the company and the Learning and Development Director, and Stanka, International Development Director. They're here to share how they changed their mindset by going Google.
Hi, Tony, and hello to everyone out there.
Hello, Tony. Hello, everybody.
Thanks for being with us today at Pierre Hermé Paris. Before we continue this conversation, I'd like to take us back 3 years when we made the big jump and decision to go Google.
La marque Pierre Hermé Paris, c'est 2 choses, un produit d'excellence et une marque qui est reconnue dans le monde entier. On est dans une phase de croissance. Nous étions une trentaine de personnes à l'origine et puis aujourd'hui on est à peu près 350. L'arrivée d'Olivier nous a permis de revoir l'intégralité de notre système.
On ouvrait des boutiques à travers le monde. Ça semblait logique de passer sur les outils collaboratifs. C'est comme ça qu'on a introduit Google pour faire monter d'un cran la maison vers le 21e siècle. Étant gourmand et curieux, j'ai toujours envie de découvrir des éléments nouveaux. Le fait d'uploader toutes les vidéos, ça rend l'information accessible. Tout est hébergé sur un seul compte.
Infiniment citron, c'est une nouveauté. Pour le cake au citron, on est sur une pâte à biscuits. C'est très moelleux dans les finitions.
Le fait que M. Hermé ne se déplace plus pour faire de la formation, ça lui laisse le temps de se consacrer à son cœur de métier qui est la création de produits.
Tout le monde ne parle pas le japonais, l'arabe ou l'anglais. La traduction instantanée, ça a permis que tout le monde puisse se comprendre.
Avec Google Apps, on a pu réduire les coûts de serveur, les coûts de email. On a sécurisé toute la partie sauvegarde fichiers. Ça serait terrible de perdre nos recettes, nos fichiers, c'est toute une vie.
Grâce à Google Apps, le département informatique est resté à peu près à la même taille. Du coup, ça me libère un petit peu de temps pour donner un coup de main au niveau de la vente.
Google Apps has really helped us ensure that our customers have the same unique experience with the Pierre Hermé Paris brand when they walk into any of our boutiques from Paris to Hong Kong and all the way to Bangkok. Stanka, our International Operations Director, and myself, co-founder and Learning and Development Director, will share with you a few recipes for success using Google collaborative processes, but not any of our product recipes. So I'd like to share with you that Pierre Hermé Paris has doubled its international network in the past 3 years. And what are those biggest impacts for us? Well, the biggest impact for our company since we've gone Google, we've been able to do 4 major things. Increase our international development, speed up our rollout processes, and secure the standardization of those processes, all the while doing this big continuous team building experience.
Yes, Jennifer, you're right. We are out there with our subsidiaries and licenses every day without having to leave any of our Paris offices. We can also now open a shop in less than 4 months, which was not the case in the past. It took us in the past more than 8 months to open the shop, and we have also saved quite a lot of money. The reasons why we choose Google Apps 3 years ago were mostly financial and the ease of technology. Today, 3 years later, the reasons why we still keep Google environment are mostly operational.
Yes. I'd like to share with you 2 big winning and successful recipes for guaranteeing this important expansion. And they've been the use of collaborative documents through the Drive and using Hangouts, both really very satisfying. So let me explain a little bit about how this functions for us as a company and how we use these tools. Well, as soon as the contracts are signed with either a new subsidiary or a new licensee, we start with a big kickoff meeting where we gather the main staff members in the new country and the international rollout team for a big team building moment through a Hangout. I know that sounds really weird, but it really works. And that's where we get to know each other and go through all aspects of the pre-opening phases, and there are really a lot. So it takes time. It's also the beginning of our onboarding process where we start to transfer our know-how, all of our knowledge, which is one of our core company values. This enables us to guarantee our service and product quality standards. I'd like to also say that this is where we get to share a lot of time, but like I said earlier, but it's also a moment where we get to show and share and understand really each other's working methods and also really emphasize what we want to achieve, what we're really seeking to achieve. It's a great cross-cultural experience.
Because seeing is believing, and they need to see and understand our passion for our brand and our products. We can then see through our Hangouts who has some sweet tooth or who is the best advocate for our products, who likes more chocolates or who is macaron lover. Yes, definitely. This is actually our recipe for highly productive teams.
Yes, it is.
In my role, I oversee all teams involved in all the pre-opening and post-opening processes. I have to make sure that all people on both sides can understand the same Pierre Mépary language.
We have our own special language.
This takes time and regular reviews and meetings.
And that can be a real challenge, especially when your teams span 10 cities and 5 time zones.
Yes, of course, that can be a real challenge, but that is when we are really happy to be able to keep the connection face-to-face with them.
Absolutely.
Through Hangouts.
So maybe, Stanka, you can give us a few examples of how that really works for you and your team.
Yes, of course. For instance, one of the examples is how we review merchandising on shop floor. And another example is sales assistant product training through Hangouts. So we can test their knowledge on the product specifications, and especially we can see how they talk about the product.
How they talk about the product, which is really important for us. I'd like to say that we've actually trained about 30 managers in 8 countries, and about 100 sales staff in the past year have been trained alone. And they sit in for regular training sessions via Hangout. The result is then really driven and motivated and informed staff, eager. They're eager. They're knowledgeable, and in one of the most interesting facets of this client relationship that we're trying to get them to develop, which is this comfortable relationship through product knowledge. And I'd like to say that the mystery shopper reports that we have really attest to the success of this method. So in closing, well, Google Apps as you've heard and maybe understood, that it's been a real significant addition to our expansion efforts, allowing us to transfer know-how, save money, and ensure quality anywhere we operate. So thanks for helping us achieve this. Bye.
What a great example of tech-savvy teams and the importance of culture. Speaking of which, let's see how our own tech-savvy teams are doing on their collaboration exercise. Brice, tell us how things are going.
Thanks for asking, Tony. Things are doing perfectly well here. Coffee Road Trip is a project now. The project manager invites a new employee every week who uses the coffee breaks to share a passion for a hobby, a country, or a new drink. Both teams put together all the files they have created or found on the web in a shared folder I have just created on Google Drive for Work. Our group folder contains different types of files: docs, sheets, slides, photos, and even videos. Talking about video, you can see on the top of my files in Drive that a member of the team has just shared with me a 2 GB video file called the road trip video. Before, it was extremely complicated to share such a big file with people inside or outside a company. Now, it's very easy to save work files or folders in Drive, access them from any device, and share them instantly with coworkers, customers, or partners. You can even share files with people that don't use Google Drive. You don't need to send attachments in your emails anymore. And the thing I really prefer, thanks to unlimited storage on Google Drive for Work, you no longer need to worry about your disk quota. You can easily create, upload, and share any file up to 5 terabytes in size. The best part is there is no need of training to be able to use these collaborative tools all together. They are so simple and intuitive, we can focus on ideas only.
In our last segment, I want to talk about employee engagement, which is just a fancy way of saying how much people really care about what they're doing. The research is really troubling in this area. According to a survey done by Gallup in 142 countries in 2012, more than half the employees surveyed wouldn't recommend their employer to their peers, and only 13% of employees worldwide felt like they were engaged at work. This is obviously a challenge for all leaders today. One company, though, that's built a strong culture of engagement and has been able to continuously reinvent itself since it was born in 1904 is Waitrose. Waitrose is a grocer in the UK with a passion for healthy living. In addition to hundreds of stores and thriving online operation, they've rolled out Google Apps. We sat down with Cheryl, the IT director, to talk about the impact that rollout has had on collaboration. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you for joining us. Tell us how you collaborate at Waitrose.
Hi, Tony. Great to speak to you. So in Waitrose, everyone who works in Waitrose owns the business. And we have a very simple and straightforward purpose, which is our partners' happiness. And we think we achieve that by providing worthwhile and satisfying employment in a successful business. Being an owner in the business means that we share the rewards and the responsibilities. So we share profit, we share knowledge, and we share power. And when we talk about Google and collaboration, for us that means we can share knowledge in a much more effective and efficient way. So we want our partners, everyone who's employed in the business, to share their knowledge, their experience, to share best practice, because we think in sharing all of that information, that helps us be effective and provide a brilliant service to our customers.
Can you give us a couple of examples of how you collaborate?
So first example would be how we do layouts for hospitality. So within branch, partners will do the layout of the food. With the collaboration tools now, instantly that can be shared with people, buyers in the head office. They can give feedback, make suggestions, improvements, and we can get it looking exactly how they want it to. And then what's really powerful is, having got that display in one branch, we can share that with all branches, and there's a dialogue between the branches and partners around how that display was made, what worked, what's the best way of doing it. So it's the sort of thing that took us months through meetings and feedback. Actually, we've cut down to be probably minutes in terms of sharing that best practice. A second example would be an IT one, actually. So the more kit and devices that we're putting in branches, we do occasionally have problems and we have incidents. And what we're finding is either we were losing track of those incidents or we weren't responding quickly enough. So again, with collaboration tools, we can make sure we're tracking those incidents and making sure we're responding to them as quickly as possible so that we're providing a great service to our customers. And actually we've used sites to help us provide training, to continuously improve, to share best practice. So again, it's about getting real expertise in the branch around technology so that we're providing a great service to our partners in branches. And then the third example I would give is one around efficiency. So if you think about in retail, we're constantly trying to match the demand that we need as customers come in. So at tea time, after everyone's finished work, people go into branches, and we're trying to match that with the availability of partners and the hours that they've got available. And we would do that in a very manual way. We didn't know whether partners were available. We were struggling to get hold of them. Now with the collaboration tools, partners can log on where they're available. We can put out there the hours that we want people to do and very quickly just make an instantaneous match around hours so that we're meeting the time and rotas that we're looking to meet. So again, saved hours in terms of processing, so really efficient. So I'm a mum who's got children who are 12 and 14, and so I really value flexibility. So what I really like about Google is the fact that I can work at the office, I can go home, I've got access to everything. I can work when I choose to, rather than the sort of traditional way of working, and I really value that because it means I can spend time with my children when they're around, and I can work as well, so it gives me a really great work-life balance.
And please tell us what this way of collaborating brings to your customers.
So I've talked about how it helps us better in the business, but if I talk about our specialists, so we think the way that we differentiate in Waitrose is we've got experts who know everything there is to know about food, about wine, about flowers. But actually that's great if you've got someone who's been within the business for about 20 years. But as you bring new people on, we needed a way of sharing that information efficiently. So how we're using the collaboration tools, if a partner who hasn't necessarily got that experiences with a customer, they can log on, they can ask a question, a specialist with that experience can go back with the answer, and then stood in front of the customer instantly, that partner has a response to the question, so they can give advice about what wine will go with a meal, or if you're cooking a particular recipe, what's the way to cook it. So actually that partner has got access to thousands of specialists across the whole of our branch estate.
It is great to see how a culture can be amplified with technology. Now, let's check on our collaborative teams and see the results of their work.
All right, thank you, Tony. Our workshop is now finished, and the end result is a project that we call our coffee journey. This project has 3 claims, and I love them all. The first claim is don't take a coffee in your journey, have a journey with your coffee. The second is every coffee break will be the journey of your life. And the third is have a coffee, live a journey. You can see the spirit. The action plan was built to take into consideration the timeline and the cultural differences between now and then. Quick wins are fast and culturally acceptable. Survey the employees on their passion, find enthusiasts who will initiate the project. Disruptions are fast also, but more challenging culturally. Connect coffee rooms together, install screens in all of them. Developments take time, but everyone will be comfortable with them. Let's find a coffee provider that blends all over the world for their coffee blends. Innovations are the endgame vision of this workshop. We'll share these innovative coffee breaks with subsidiaries in other countries and even maybe other companies. This experience has demonstrated that real-time collaboration leads toward operational excellence. The same kind of workshops used to last for hours, even a full day sometimes. We are now able to produce a flawless document in a few minutes using collaborative tools that are both intuitive and handy. It also showed that everybody can become tech-savvy without any training and save time to focus on the ideas. New collaboration tools enable high productivity gains. Thanks to the solutions we used during this experience, we produced twice as many ideas as in ordinary sessions. Moreover, we can benefit from insights of people all over the world who can be of interest or relevant to our topic. Another benefit of collaborative tools is the immediate sharing of the work with all participants. It allows everyone to find both inspiration and support for one another to deliver great content in no time. This is a perfect example of engaged and motivated teams. Open information and real-time collaboration empowers each participant and makes everyone contribute to the best extent of their abilities. Experience shows and research demonstrates that collective intelligence is not the sum of individual abilities, but the result of good collaboration. And that is what we had here today. Thank you, Tony. And thank you, everyone, for being with us.
Thank you, Brice. This brings us to the end of our session. As you can see, collaboration is not the future, it's how successful companies are getting work done right now. The size of your company doesn't matter, the industry you're in doesn't matter. You can do this. We believe that collaboration has to be a part of a company's culture. Only then do you get the elastic, tech-savvy, and engaged teams that will do their best work. One way to get going is to look at the research and advice in the Atmosphere Drive folder. You can also share this video with your colleagues and then talk to them about developing a more collaborative culture. On behalf of all our guests and Google, I'm Tony Fagan. Thanks very much for watching.